Alright everyone, it's time for official Clanker admonition time. Do not eat lab-grown meat. I know that the FDA has approved the first cell line-based safe chicken, or I believe it's specifically chicken patties that you can get grown in a test tube now or in a vial. Don't eat it. And the reasoning behind why I'm saying this is actually different from some people's perspective. Most of the people who are saying you shouldn't eat the test tube chicken are saying that because they think that it's going to be of necessity unhealthy. That is, that you're fiddling with clonal cell lines, there are worries about human health. I mean, I would share that. I mean, this is maybe FDA approved, but they also approve thalidomide. So there's no guarantee that it doesn't lead to long-term health complications. The FDA is not necessarily the most trustworthy agency. Just look at what they did with the fucking food pyramid back in the 2000s if you don't believe me. That being said, I have a bigger qualm, and it ties into the green energy grift, actually. As we've seen, the concept of green energy on paper is a good one. I'm a fan of solar, for example. But when we look at green energy projects, what we're really looking at is that China comes in, builds an enormous number of solar generators and panels and so forth in what should be fallow land, so they cut down a forest to generate green energy effectively. Or they destroy the Bundy turtles. You remember that with the Bureau of Land Management? They told Amon Bundy there he couldn't graze his cattle on the federal land and used the dumb excuse that there was an endangered species there and the cows or whatever might trample them. And that was bullshit quite clearly, because then that same land was later subdeveloped by a Chinese company and they came in with machinery and put up all the solar panels, probably killing a lot of turtles in the process. Somehow, doesn't matter when the Chicoms are doing it. By the way, Bundy was found not guilty on all charges, is perfectly happy, along with everyone else that was there at the standoff. I wonder why. Anyway, my concern is that you'll end up with the same system that you have with green energy. So, the projects are centrally invested. They are centrally controlled. Most solar is not. A person has decided to put solar panels up, have their own battery system, so hey, power goes out around the neighborhood, I'm fine for a couple of days. My battery's all charged up. Hey, I am reducing my own output of money to get electricity. I've mounted these panels. They'll be passively generating for 20, 30 years. I make a return in the end. That's the way to do it. Decentralization. That's not the way in practice that it works, though. It's trying to get people, especially with electric vehicles now, it's trying to get people more reliant on a centrally controlled grid to monopolize things. That's going to be the same with the lab-grown meat. What the government is going to do at this point, first you'll have a handful of people testing the lab-grown meat. So just out of curiosity, they'll try it. And they'll make Insta videos and TikTok bits and YouTube shorts and shit of them eating the lab-grown meat. Oh, how cool it is. From their influence, therefore, will spread to their fans. They'll try it. Some of them will like it. Some of them won't. Some of them will find it weird and quirky. Others will genuinely enjoy it. What will happen once there is a market share of any appreciable nature is the government will come in with some cherry-picked study saying it's safer, it's more ethical because we're not killing animals. I mean, we killed the animals to get the cell lines, but and now we're cloning them as part of our monstrosity. But we don't need factory farming and shit anymore. I agree with them on the factory farming end. What they will do is they'll brand it as ethical. They'll brand it as more efficient, even though that is absolutely not the case. And they will cherry pick their data and present it to the public. The public will begin getting the test tube meat. They will attempt to price out farmers. Now, they're not worried about pricing out the highly efficient factory farmers that raise the chickens in slavery where they can barely stand up. They're going to go after small-time farmers. They're going to go, the family farmer will suffer. The regional chain, the regional farmers syndicate will suffer. They won't be able, eventually the government will step in and say, well, your meat raising's not ethical. So you're not allowed to do it anymore. You can't even have your backyard chickens or something. Some states are already trying to embattle these things. They'll do it through regulation. They'll do it through taxation. Most importantly, though, they'll take a hands-off approach and they'll subsidize the lab meat. They'll take your tax money, throw it at the laboratory to artificially lower the cost, allowing it to outcompete the natural meat market. Real meat, therefore, will become much more expensive. The middle class priced out of eating it generally. The lower class will eat lab meat. And since the middle class has been priced out of the natural meat market, they will start eating the lab-grown meat. Then you'll end up with a line of Lab Deluxe. This is superior lab-grown meat. We use a different culture from the other brands. That's what you're going to end up happening 10, 15, 20 years down the road. A bunch of people will be eating the lab-grown meat, and there will be health issues associated with it potentially. It will not be more efficient. It'll be less efficient. But it'll be centrally produced by groups that are beholden to the government, therefore under their command. ESG'd up. Spread it, helping to fund propaganda, lab-grown meat. We need to, just like with climate change, we need to convince the public using their own money that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. But there is no problem addressed by lab-grown meat. The problem is addressed by, hey, maybe you shouldn't scarf down 20 servings of meat a day. Maybe the methodology by which it's produced is inefficient, like shipping the chicken thighs to China from the United States to be cleaned and prepared and then re-importing them. Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Easily fixed by home farming, easily fixed by not constantly abusing farmers and, in some cases, forcing them to leave land fallow. It's easily taken care of. There's plenty of land for the meat. It's just that the government doesn't want you to eat so much of it. It wants, but you notice, do you think that you're going to see Klaus Schwab eating lab chicken or cricket burgers, or do you think you're going to see him with a nice sirloin steak? Do you think that Al Gore, when he goes home to one of his many homes with his private jet in tow, do you think that he eats cricket burgers? No, he doesn't. He also doesn't go in and plant trees or pick up trash. Supposedly the world's supposed to resemble Tatooine at any given point in the future. These people are NIMBYists, and they're trying to con you. This is a move towards centralization. It's a move towards greater control over the food supply. This is not meant to make you healthier. It's not meant to address ethics with regards to farming, butchery, and so forth. They don't care about these things. These are the people that start wars and drone strike little kids. You think that they care about the fucking cow? They'd kill the cow and prepare it themselves if they had the skill and the reason to do so. Be too much effort. They'd have their butler do it instead, I suppose. What they're going to try to do is drive the price of real healthy meat haywire. A handful of people who are like total homesteaders will still have a supply. They'll be doing fairly well because that limited supply that they may or may not be legally entitled to sell at that point be quite valuable. Then look for the government to come in and attempt to confiscate it all. And by the way, those animals will be butchered and burned in pits or something like that. It's going to be the same as the EV grift. The EV grift is, hey, it's better for the environment, but it's not. EVs are not better for the environment. It's just an attempt to centralize the grid more, overstretching it in the process. By the way, we're already having issues with that only a few years into the EV revolution. And to control you. Yeah, your new souped-up EV car with all of the bells and whistles. Yeah, the government can lock it up remotely because you didn't pay the fine or because you said something online. How wonderful. We're moving towards a greater and greater, more centralized dystopia. Don't eat the lab meat. Don't hate eat it. Don't eat it for clout. Completely boycott it and shut it out. If there's no market cap established, then the idea will die. Then they'll pivot to the next authoritarian grift. Buy us a little bit of time. That's about all. Peace out.